Hi, it's Michael Senoff with Michael Senoff's HardToFindSeminars.com. I've teamed up with Chris Costello to bring you some of the world's best interviews on medical and health, mind, body, and spirit. The title of this interview is called How to Prevent Heart Disease Without Pills, Procedures, or Pricey Diet Plans. Heart disease can happen to anyone. In fact, it's the #1 killer for both men and women. While scientists used to believe the disease was caused by clogged pipes, they now know plaques form in the arteries from lifestyle choices like fatty diets and lack of exercise. If one of those plaques becomes inflamed, it can rupture with little warning, causing a heart attack. So in this audio, you'll hear all about heart disease and the ways to prevent it from Dr. Ozner, a cardiologist and author of the Great American Heart Hoax, life-saving advice your doctor should tell you about heart disease, but probably never will. According to Dr. Ozner, there is hope for those of us who lead relatively sedentary, fast food lives. In fact, it's probably easier and less painful than you think to prevent heart disease, and in this audio, you'll hear all about it. You'll also hear how switching to a Mediterranean diet is a delicious way to lower your risk of heart attack, stroke, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, and Parkinson's, and how to do it. You'll learn how processed diet wreaks havoc on our bodies and the antidote that can help. You'll learn why Dr. Ozner says that our government has let us down when it comes to labels and trans fats, and how to become a label sleuth when you go to your supermarket. You'll learn how much exercise you really need in order to stay healthy. Believe it or not, it's actually less than you probably think. You'll learn the forgotten risk factor in heart disease that rarely gets talked about and how to reduce it, and much, much more. According to Dr. Ozner, you don't need to bombard yourself with medications in order to lower your cholesterol and prevent heart disease. Simple lifestyle changes can be started today that will help you get you on the right track, and this audio is a great first step. I hope you enjoy the interview. Now let's get going.
Hi, this is Chris Costello, and I've teamed up with Michael Senoff to bring you the world's best health-related interviews. My dad used to tell me that making money is great, but being able to spend it in a healthy and vibrant manner makes your financial success that much sweeter. So if you know anyone struggling with their weight, with cancer, diabetes, ADHD, autism, heart disease, or other health issues, send them over to Michael Senoff's HardToFindSeminars.com. Today, our guest is Dr. Michael Ozner. Dr. Michael Ozner is a pioneer in the field of preventive cardiology. He's Medical Director of Wellness and Prevention at Baptist Health in South Florida, one of the leading healthcare facilities in America, and Medical Director of the Cardiovascular Prevention Institute of Southern Florida. He is also the past chairman of the American Heart Association of Miami. Dr. Michael Ozner has written The Great American Heart Hoax and the Miami Mediterranean Diet, Lose Weight and Lower Your Risk of Heart Disease. He is the recipient of the 2008 American Heart Association Humanitarian Award and has been recognized by the Consumer Council of America as one of the top physicians in America. Can you describe for our listeners what is heart disease?
Well, heart disease, and in particular coronary heart disease, is the #1 killer in the country, both for men and women. Because what we understand is that when people suffer heart attacks, and we should throw in strokes as well, and we put that under the heading of cardiovascular disease, it is from a disease which we call atherosclerosis, which is a buildup of cholesterol. And we used to think that it was simply a cholesterol storage disease, but kind of like we have plumbing pipes in our bodies collecting sludge, and then when the sludge becomes significant, it chokes off the artery and we have a heart attack. That was the old theory. We now understand that this is actually not what happened. We understand that this disease of atherosclerosis, which I liken to the atherosclerotic plaque, to a pimple in the artery wall, is really an active inflammatory disease. And we've learned that over the past decade. Now we understand the mechanism by which these little pimples or atherosclerotic plaques rupture and lead to heart attacks. And really, to everybody's surprise who hears this, it's not the 90% plaque or blockage that you really have to watch out for. It's the 1%, 5%, 10% plaque that suddenly ruptures because it's highly inflamed. And then when blood comes into contact with the plaque itself, we get a sudden and often catastrophic clot that then shuts down blood supply in the artery. The average person who has a heart attack has no prior warning, just like the average person who drops dead suddenly, what we call sudden cardiac death, has no prior warning because they have a small 10%, for instance, plaque that suddenly ruptures, and when it ruptures within a matter of seconds, they go from 10% blockage to 100% blockage and fall down. They have a heart attack, sudden cardiac death, sudden vascular catastrophe.
So how many of these plaques do people that are looking at having heart problems, how many of these do they have normally? Is it just several, or what kind of numbers are you looking at?
Well, that's actually a very good question, because what we have always thought that these plaques were kind of uncommon and that, most people say, well, I don't have a plaque. As it turns out, we know from many different studies that this is a disease that starts in childhood. There was a study called the Bogalusa Heart Trial, which showed that even children 5, 6, 7 years old had the earliest signs of atherosclerosis, namely fatty streaks. And then as we get into our teenage years and our 20s and beyond, most Americans have the atherosclerotic plaque. And it's from living the good old American lifestyle with our toxic American diet, our lack of exercise, our smoking, our highly stressed society. All of these contribute to buildup of plaque. And as a result, I would say the overwhelming majority of Americans are walking around today with varying degrees of atherosclerotic plaque within their arteries. The reason why some people have a rupture of the plaque and end up dropping dead from a heart attack or having heart attacks, stroke, and other people don't, in large part has to do with how highly inflamed these plaques are.
Okay, so is there hope for people like me that grew up on a very well-rounded diet as a child of kind of like Fruit Loops, Twinkies, top it off with some ice cream? Is there hope for those of us that have switched over and changed their diet?
Well, that's right. I mean, you're defining the typical American diet.
I won't say it wasn't fun.
Well, a lot of people think the essential food groups are pizza, ice cream, and hot dogs. What we understand is that, and here's the good news, that this is reversible. And the number one killer in this country, cardiovascular disease, is in many respects a preventable disease. And we know the tools how to prevent it. In my book, The Great American Heart Hoax, I talk about why we've missed the boat, and part 2 of the book is the solution, my 10-step approach on how you can right the ship, on how you could quell the fires of inflammation, how you could have these plaques reverse and largely prevent your chances of ending up with a heart attack, with a stroke, with these devastating conditions that take people often in the prime of their lives.
So, Dr. Ozner, I'd like to talk about the Ozner 10-step prevention plan because we thought that was just brilliant. It really laid out for people things to look for and ways to improve your heart health. So would you mind talking just a little bit about your 10-step prevention plan for people?
Well, I'd love to. I mean, it starts with step number 1, which is probably one of the most important steps, and that's nutrition.
Hi, it's Michael Sinoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching this video. Many of my interviews last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes even up to 2.5 hours long. They're actual mini seminars, and you've just listened to a short sample of just one of over 117 hours of exciting, hard-hitting, mind-blowing interviews on how to make money in direct mail, advertising, copywriting. I assure you, there is not a resource anywhere on the internet or on the planet that comes close to the free information I provide at HardToFindSeminars.com. So go right now to HardToFindSeminars.com and you'll have free access to 117 hours of audio interviews with typed word-for-word downloadable transcripts and downloadable MP3 files. Please browse some more of the videos or go right directly to HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching.